welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about presets or march presets, and during this video I'll be referring to the battle mechanics we talked about in the previous video as to the reasoning behind some of what we'll be discussing regarding how to create your presets. What we'll be covering is what you can use them for, how to create your own, how to use layers, and all that good stuff. What we will not cover is what is the best or most ideal preset, as that depends. It depends on a lot. Depends on your troops, your size, your buffs, your enemy buffs, their troop types, their size, etc. To start off, we'll cover what you could use them for and the concept behind presets. And I want to let you know that most of what we will be discussing today is basically my personal experience and some of the digging I did. I had to do a lot of testing to understand what works and what doesn't work, and after watching this video you might still have to do some of that on your own in order to find what is the best preset for you, what layout works best for you, depending on what you're going to use them for, your size, etc. With that said, let's just jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and show you my one of my presets and we can talk about it then. So this is my archer preset, and if you see down here, my march size is 2187, and that's what I have my preset set to. Some of my other generals have a slightly different march size. As you can see, this is, I believe, Scipio, yep, and here is Martinus. So be sure to change the preset with the general, as the march size might vary due to the skill book or the specialty, etc. And also make sure, if you set your preset with a senior march, that when you use that preset you activate your senior march. Otherwise you're gonna have a chopped up preset where it's just gonna, like, you're gonna scroll down, you're gonna see zeros all the way through because all the troops were used up in like 1 or 2 layers. Those are some things to watch out for. I personally create all my presets with the senior march because I'll never play without it, basically. And if I do, then in that case it doesn't really matter what troops I use. But going back to the topic, presets. You might notice that I have a lot of 1000, 1000, 1000, 1000, 1000. So this is my archer preset. I'm not gonna tell you that this is the preset I use every time. I often come in here, press 2 and like change around before I send my march. I would like adjust the T14s. If I want a stronger punch, I will send more T14s than T13s, and or maybe both, more T14s and T13s and less T12s. But for the most part I use T12s as basically the punch. They're not the spearhead. T14 is the spearhead, and they seem to often die very quickly as they take on most of the battle. They basically take on everything the other player or your opponent has, tier wise. Like if it's archers, the T14 archers will engage seemingly all archers. They will just die first. They will always die. This can be your biggest layer. You will suffer the biggest loss from those archers, T14. And I actually have some reports that I can walk through with you guys later on. But the reasoning behind it is that my T14s will die, and they cost a lot more if we're talking about speed ups or resources healing, or if we're talking about source of life. They're higher power, they cost more source of life to heal. Everything is just T12 has a much stronger punch, very economical, and you often don't lose that much. Why? Because when you're sending multiple tiers, what happens is the T-14's archers will engage first. They will engage the enemy first. So will all the other troop types, and that's why um, you have those layers. What this does is it creates, we used to call this a rainbow march, because it has seemingly all colors of troops and tiers. What it does is all of the different troops types will actually battle. What that does is it will prolong the length of the battle. And in this case, if Archer is the focused, the T-14 archers will lead on the Archer march. So what will happen is all of those other guys will go in and fight. They'll only be buying grounds. The archers will be in the background. Like we talked about, the fastest is calves, followed by ground, then archers, then siege. So all of those layers will be going in into battle, and then the T-14 archers will actually lead the archers army. Let's call it that. So the T-14s will be battling and buying time for the T-13 and the T-12 to inflict damage on the enemy troops. Does that make sense? If you imagine it, those guys will be taking the strongest, biggest punch. They're gonna be the main, basically, defense. While they're fighting and buying time, those guys are gonna be straight up killing because um they don't have anything coming at them. Eventually, in the following turns, yes, if they don't actually manage to take out the enemy troops, they will start getting killed off. But they do the most damage initially when the battle begins. Now, as far as to what you want to use for layering, besides the main troop type, um, it is up to you. I use 1,000 because I feel like that's like good, and it works in almost all situations, especially if it's like SVS temples or other buildings in the throne or any of the throne buildings. A lot of players just send layers all the time, and 1,000 seems to be good. If they sent 100, or 1,000, or 10,000, sending 1,000 is good because it's not really. Most of the time, half of them would die, or if not all of them. But their main purpose is just to buy you battle time and extend the battle, so that your main troop type can actually deal damage to the enemy in the process. And again, this doesn't apply to every situation. There are situations where I would send 400,000 archers. T-12, I mean, and like even 300 T-13 and like 1.2 million T-14. Like if I'm trying to overpower somebody who's not very stacked, that's definitely what I would do. And you can see from here, like the difference in power. This is 236 million. The original preset is 174 with majority T12. So it definitely matters, and added up with your buffs, your T12 will actually get better as your buffs get better. So my T12s here are probably as good as T14s with basic buffs. You have to also keep that in mind. It's not just the new troop type that gets better, or the new troop type that's. Your older troop types improve when your buffs are better. That's also one other thing. And again, it always depends who you're attacking, what troop type you're attacking, etc. If you look at my calves and my ground, I almost have the exact same layout. And again, like I said, this is my basic layout. So if I'm not thinking and I want to hit somebody, I literally just hit attack and tap this and go, and I will have zero regrets. But if I scout and I see something else, and I feel like, okay, I need to adjust it, then I will click the preset and adjust it like on the spot and attack. Um, and here is my calves. It also same thing, almost exactly the same. And I'm only using those because those seem to be the only presets that have worked the most, um, and the best. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna show you guys some um, battle reports and show you how this actually plays out. All right, so we can see here this was a direct attack during SVS. It was really close, and I was trying to get points basically, and it was definitely points positive. But this was a cav attack. I used my T12 calves to hit him and um try to kill his calves and some of his ground troops. It's 1.2. Let me show you the true playout and how this battle basically went. Um, so you can see here, my T14s did some damage, 559. They all died. Um, T13s did even more damage because they were in the back. And my T12s, look at that, 2.7 million. Like when you see this, you start to think like, this works. And it honestly took a lot of time and a lot of effort and money to try this, and like sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, but I'm trying to give you guys the tool sets so you can basically understand what's going on instead of just, experimenting, and it could be costly. So you see here, his ground troops killed 67,000 only, and then they all died, about 2 million of them. They all died. The calves killed 600,000, half of them died, the T13s. Archers killed 500,000. Siege didn't do much. Half of the T12 ground troops died. And some of the T13 calves. Now you see most of the losses here are ground and calves, because first calves engage, followed by ground. And what that means is that the calves will battle out the calves, and then they'll move on to the ground. The layers will maybe battle out some, but most of the time the archers will do a lot of the damage to the calves, as they did. We have about 500,000 here, 177,000 here. But I can see that his calves did some of it because we didn't completely take out all of them. You can see it took out a bunch from each calf layer as well. So this was a majority calf slash ground. It also depends on the buffs. Sometimes if you don't manage to get through, like if he has higher buffs or I have lower buffs and I don't manage to get through his calves, then the outcome will definitely be different, and the amount of troops types will be different that were lost or wounded. Now here's another one. This was an ouchie. It was a 200 mil player. Definitely was a mistake. I don't actually remember how he fell for it. But you can see this was successful ground attack. And if we look here, actually, let me run you through the buffs. As that oops, forgot to add that. All right. So yeah, the buffs are not even comparable. And doesn't look like did I use my subs? I don't think I did. Oh, I did. Oh, great. Okay. could not debuff much because his basic buffs are very low. So that definitely plays a part, a huge part in the outcome. But again, we're only trying to look at troop types and those basic mechanics. So T14 ground, the spearhead, 765,000. That's how much damage they did. That's how much got wounded. The layers, you see, they did 1,000 each, 1,000 each. They couldn't do more than how much they are. Basically, you can sometimes deduce how long the round was if you calculate the individual attack and defense for each unit and how many they killed, etc. You can deduce the length of the round, but I don't think this was an even match. Look here, T13 ground, 1.8 million. None wounded. 1 million, the T12. You see, the T13 did more damage because there wasn't really much going on. Let's see here. Yeah, the maximum was T12. So T14, T13 had a really good, yeah, they had a really good edge on things. So we didn't necessarily need T12s in this case. They still did some damage though. What happened here is, yeah, just everything basically died. I think the only thing that might have hurt was, yep, some of the calves did some damage to the ground troops. A little bit of siege, but really almost unscathed, you can call it. Let's see, how much was the numbers? Yeah, 45,000 wounded, 32,000 killed. I mean, that's nothing. That's basically just the layers. It's like 4.9 million power lost. That's nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is a 155 million power positive attack. And this is what you want. This is what you want. Let me try to find you a scout report that we can actually look at. Okay, so I actually could not find any of the saved scout reports that I have. I'm not sure what's going on. Sometimes they go all the way to the bottom of my saved list, and sometimes they just time out and disappear. But I did find this interesting attacks lost. I cannot recall if this was an SVS or battlefield, but this was definitely a solo hit, and it was an archer attack. I actually think this was SVS. Let's see. Yep, I believe it was SVS. Let's look at the buffs first. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. Pretty close. Definitely better than the last guy. All right. Okay, so let's look at what we did. Oh, all right, 123. Nice. So as you can see here, this was basically just because I don't have the scout report. I'm gonna try go off of his defense. But what I think happened is he did not have a lot of ground or archers, but had a lot of calves as well, and that's what triggered my attack. With archers, archers is usually a very successful attack, but it almost never clears out somebody for me, at least. Not the sizes I would target, at least. But I definitely did this for points. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, back to the main topic, archers. So the T14 again, they killed 500,000. Let's see, T13, whoa, 1.9 million. And T12, the hero, is 3.458 million. That's insane. Of course, everything either got wounded or died, but let's see what damage they did here. So, ground troops got overpowered, all dead. Archers, dead. Cavs, dead. Siege didn't die, of course, they always lurk in the back. If you basically don't clear out anybody, it's very rare that you'll kill any siege unless you sent a somewhat good amount. And I rarely use siege with my archers, although I should. I prefer not to, because most of the targets I pick out, siege will not be necessary in most cases. The outcome of this battle might have actually changed with a little bit of siege. Might have managed to clear out everything, but we'll leave that for another day. Let's just say that. Some of the T12 ground survived. See, they did some damage here. Oh, archers died. Although they did some damage. Again, siege survives. T12. You get the gist of it, basically. You get what happened here, but you can see from the battles that happened and the attacks that happened. Anyway, not to talk too much about it. Again, it all depends. I just wanted to go through those reports just to show you examples of how those layers that I use perform in different situations. But again, do your due diligence depending on what troop types you have. Maybe you don't have T13s, maybe you don't have T14s. It just depends, honestly, the presets. But that's definitely why we use the 1000, is just to buffer, to buy you more time. And again, like I said, it can be 10, it can be 100, 1,000, 10,000. I've seen players who have even bigger march sizes than me, and some of them start adding 10,000 each, or they just increase their main troop type. Like they would just use more T14 and max it out to like 2 million or something like that, just to get a stronger punch. And in some cases, with the new updates, it seems to really it really does a lot of damage, and it's a huge difference. Of course, the amount of power you have in a march is always going to affect the outcome of the battle. Secondary, or let's just say besides the fact that there are buffs and debuffs in the game that also go into battle calculation. But yeah, I think oh, the one thing I did forget, I was gonna say, I think that's all, but no. What you can use presets for as well is ghosting. And I did mention that in the previous video. You can create presets for example, you can create preset number 1 to make it your cav ghosting preset. So you just select, save the preset, and when you're trying to ghost, you'll automatically set a rally real quick, and you would just press 1 and press send, because in those situations you need to be quick. You need to, react quickly. You have less time to react. That's one thing you can use for if you want to ghost if your keep is small enough to ghost everything. You can create an attack preset, ghost that first, ghost everything else later. So for example, I want to ghost my archer. I will ghost this first, and then just doesn't matter, ghost everything else indifferently, like just create rally and send them out in no specific order. But what happens is when you unghost this one, you'll have that entire preset saved for you and ready. If you want to ghost and like use that one preset to attack, which is how a lot of these smaller keeps play, and some of them do a really damn good job. I've seen K30s, K32s, K33s with like 200 mil, 100 mil do a lot of damage just because they know how to play. So it's not always about size, um, not always about skill either. Um, it depends, like everything in this game. It honestly depends on the situation. It depends on the scenario, the parties involved, etc. But I hope this sheds some light on presets and a little bit more on battle mechanics and why the preference goes to T12 most of the time. It's just more economical. It works the best. It works its way up from the background while it's, other troop types and tiers are, buying it time. It does a lot of damage, and the higher your buffs and research and everything else, the more the damage they will do, and they will continue to do that, unless they Evany releases some new update that just completely shifts how battle mechanics work, which has happened before and will probably continue to happen. But for the meantime, this is how it is, and this is what I use. That's by experience. I could definitely make another follow-up video and talk about one specific area if you guys want. Just hit me up, let me know, and I'll be happy to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, which is gonna probably be tomorrow. Peace.